Yes, sir. All right, we're gonna get straight into it on this one right here. This goes out for my people that want to try to get into this gambling stuff, this sports gambling stuff. Okay, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. If you ain't into sports or you want to do this but you're not 100% confident in yourself, I'm gonna need y'all to just click off the video. This ain't no disrespect towards y'all. It's just this is serious. Okay, these people out here trying to win some actual money. You can't just be going in there doing some bull crap. So if this ain't for you, you can click off that video. But for those of you that want to lock in or you're experienced and all this other stuff, right? This is gonna be the video for you. So with that being in mind, I'm gonna give y'all a couple of tips to help y'all get better at this kind of stuff. I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm like this elite person myself, but I like to think I know this like a tad bit of stuff, and I learned some things throughout the time that has helped me with this kind of thing. So first off, this one I can already tell you guys off rip. If you really want to get into this, you need to be, I don't know how to say this. I don't want to say like a complete data nerd, but you kind of have to be somewhat known in the data. So what do I mean by this? You're going to have to be looking up information of every team, every player, how they play on offense, how they play on defense, what factors into what, all this other stuff. There's a ton of stuff you have to look into when you make this kind of stuff. Let me give you guys a perfect example. Let's take the Las Vegas Raiders this season, for example. They are absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible. Quarterback is bad. Genty, unfortunately, is bad. That's because he has a terrible offensive line. The receivers, besides Brock Bowers, who do they got? Absolutely nobody. Defense ain't stopping nobody. If there is a team that is going up against the Raiders, 9 times out of 10, I would pick players against them. I would do it. And heck, if you wanted to, you could put Raiders players on unders. I mean, that's just the way it is. I mean, this is the kind of stuff you have to prepare for when you do this kind of thing. You have to know what team is elite in what. Like, let's say the Falcons, for example. They're best at running the ball. Let's say they're best at running the ball with B. John Robinson, right? If they're going up against a terrible run defense like the Bengals, per se, you need to be picking Bijan in this game absolutely at all costs. Whether it's rushing yards or a rushing touchdown, pick this guy. Now, obviously, this is easier said than done, which is going to get into my second point. You're not going to win every single one, okay? This is one of the first things you got to understand in your head immediately. If you're going into this thinking you're going to win every single one of these, it's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. You got to go in with the mindset knowing that you're not going to win every single one. Sometimes it might just be one leg that hits wrong, that it doesn't hit. That's just the way of it. It is what it is. Sometimes a team might go out there and completely shock an opponent. You know what I'm saying? College football. It happens all the time. So just because it looks like it might go that direction doesn't necessarily always mean it goes that way. That's why there's like apps and stuff, which for me, honestly, I think buying an extra app, or not buying it, like downloading an extra app to get this kind of information is kind of insane to me. I think it's insane. But hey, if it helps, it helps. That's just not me. You got to know all aspects of it, and you got to know sometimes you're just not going to win everyone. Number 3. This one I'm kind of still trying to figure out myself, but don't be afraid to take unders, guys. The reason I say I'm struggling with this myself is because I'm so tempted to always put higher every time, because I feel like if I put under, it's like I want this player to underperform. Like I want him to fail or something like that. And I don't want players to fail. Like, like I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh man, Kirk Cousins, he's going to have less than 200 passing yards. Yeah. No, I don't want anybody to underperform. But sometimes that happens, okay? You got to be prepared for that. So if you know a player is going to underperform badly, don't be afraid to put that under, guys. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to put so much confidence in a player when you know this is not going to happen. This one right here, this might trip a lot of you guys up. You got to be ready to anticipate blowout games. Now, what do I mean by this? Let's use the Oklahoma City Thunder as an example, right? They've been absolutely blowing teams out of the water, okay? Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, this guy barely plays in the fourth quarter. Barely ever plays. Most of the time he doesn't play in the fourth quarter because they're blowing teams out by 30 or 40. Somewhere in that range, right? So don't be sitting here expecting to put like SGA on higher, like let's say 33 points. He's going to be sitting out the whole fourth quarter if their team is up 20. Do not do that to yourself. You see, that's just another thing in the data. You got to know what teams are going against what and certain teams against other teams, like the history and all that. OKC, They just been blowing most of the teams out the water. So there's almost no reason to go a higher on SGA unless you're just confident he's going to get it in 3 quarters, which he does sometimes, but not all the time. So just keep that in mind. Another thing too, don't sleep on the underrated players, guys. There's always going to be 1 or 2 underrated players on teams that are going to just suddenly have a breakout performance or something like that. It happens more often than you think, okay? So don't be afraid if you see a player starting to break out a bit. Don't be afraid to rely on him a couple of times, okay? Or if you see like a player that you have seen consistently hit on your parlays, right? Like for me, for example, every time I pick Lauri Markkinen, he almost always hits on his parlays. I think there's only like 1 or 2 that he might have missed. But other than that, he hits on almost every one I do. So I always keep using him whenever I get the chance if I know he's going to hit it, which I always do. So that's another thing to keep in mind too. If you know your players are going to hit on their parlays, hey, ain't nothing wrong with using them every time. You do got to be mindful of the teams that did this play, right? Last thing I want to say, and this one might be obvious to some, but I do feel like I need to point this out. Y'all got to know when to quit. Like, this is kind of a serious one right here. Like, if you try to gamble so much to the point like you're starting to lose so much money and you're not getting anything, y'all just stop. Just stop. Like, there's no reason to keep on trying. You're having a bit of a bad streak. You're running out of money. You know what I'm saying? It's okay to quit. It's okay to quit and come back to it if you choose to do so. There's nothing wrong with that. It's okay to call it quits for a little bit. That doesn't, I'm not saying stop completely. You got to know when to start, when to stop when it's not going well. That's pretty much all I got for you guys on this video. At the end of the day, like I said, this is not for the weak. If you know you're not confident in this stuff, I don't recommend you do this because this is really like, it's cool to do, but it's also like a serious thing that happens when people gamble too much. So you got to know when to pick your poison sometimes to just be like, okay, I might need to call it quits right here. There's nothing wrong with it, guys. Get your bread back up. If you're feeling a bit confident again, you can get back in it if you choose to do so. Heck, apps even encourage you to do that too, by the way. So, you know, just take it as a bit of a sign. If you're on a bit of a bad streak, maybe you just might need to call it quits for a little bit until you get back up the way you are. You know, kind of like you're playing a poker game, bro. You know when to quit. You know when to keep going. You got to trust your odds. You got to trust your luck sometimes. That's just the way it always been in gambling. But that's pretty much all I got for you guys on this video. Stay cool. Keep it classy. Peace.